Hello everybody and welcome to the 10 minutes or less review of Avowed. I haven't done one of these since Starfield's DLC, but this game kind of encouraged me to finally make another because it was so decisive depending on who you asked. It was either the best RPG to release this year, which is obviously, as I've pretty much reinstated a million times, is not a goal that they really wanted to hit, seeing how it's only February, or it's the worst game you've ever played. In my opinion, it is neither of those. It is a middle of the line RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, and I mean, depending on how you feel about Obsidian, it was rather underwhelming, but it's all in your outlook on the game. I never had very high expectations from the get-go. When you look at the marketing for it, it never really hyped it up to be anything special in my opinion, and it just ultimately never looked all that appealing. But what does the game actually have to offer? Well, in this spoiler-free review, I will give you my opinions on gameplay, graphics, and story building, and the RPG mechanics the game offers. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the two things that I think Avowed did really well: world building and the world design as a whole, and gameplay. Now for gameplay, I think it is some of the best feeling RPG gameplay I have played outside of a Bethesda game in quite some time. Well, what makes it so fun in my opinion and so good? Well, because simply put, it's a smooth and reliable gameplay experience. Everything you try to do is in a really quick menu that you can easily get to, and it's not that much of a struggle to do really anything. Ironically, I think the positives lead straight into the only negative, in my opinion, of the gameplay. It is extremely restrictive. Magic isn't as broad and in-depth as maybe you were hoping, or maybe the developers were hoping. And the combat genuinely doesn't feel all that interesting, boiling down to you just either heavy attacking or just light attacking. That's about all the depth the gameplay is going to give you. It is also very, very easy. Even on the hardest difficulty, dodging out of the way of most enemies your same level is pretty fucking simple, and it doesn't take that much skill. And now on to the other thing I think Avowed did well was the world building. It was a really good world. It was well designed, but it was very small. And that's the problem. If there isn't enough to explore or walk around in an RPG, you're going to find yourself trying to do other things around the world, and very quickly you're going to find out you can't. Animals aren't killable, at least for the ones that they don't want you to kill or that can't attack you. You can't kill them. You can't kill AI that the game doesn't want you to kill. You're very restricted in what you can do, and that leads me straight into the RPG mechanics. If you're restricted on what AI or what animals you can kill, you can't really roleplay how you want, and you're kind of just playing a story game with some RPG mechanics like leveling up and just character design just thrown in there because why not? It's kind of pointless. It's like Cyberpunk's main story. You really don't get to make all that many decisions that change your story. They just kind of throw them in there so you can kind of feel like you're playing an RPG. I'm not a big fan of when games do this. I'd rather just watch the story rather than having to continually press a button for no reason, even though the story is just going to keep playing out the same way despite what I press. Which is unbelievably frustrating because you're just wasting my time making me continually press X or A or whatever the fuck because you just want me to. It's frustrating, it's stupid, and it's whatever. Moving on from that, though, the RPG mechanics, it's whatever. The world design kind of small, but still well detailed and fun to look at. The gameplay is fun, although restricted. And finally, the graphics and story. The graphics are decent enough. It does look like a very beautiful game. It's not too detailed. It's about what you'd expect from an RPG. And for the story, which I'm not going to spoil, I'm just going to say kind of the basics, which is I didn't have a great time really playing through the story at all. It reminded me a lot of Starfield, and if you like Starfield, maybe this is going to interest you, but for me, that's a bad thing. I did not like the way Starfield told its story. I don't like the elements they tried using. I don't like the idea of Starfield's story, and this reminded me a lot of it. Maybe I'm alone in that sentiment, but I don't know. That's the vibes it gave me. The other thing I'm going to throw in there is don't come into this story expecting you to have a big say over the story. From my experience, or maybe I'm wrong, but from my experience, it did not feel like I had a big say over the way the game went. It kind of boiled down to me going, well, do I really want to help this person? No. Well, you're going to have to kill them, and then that didn't really change anything because they're not going to be in the game if you save them anyway, so, I mean, whatever. And it was kind of disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. The game just overall feels like Skyrim if you take out all the things that made Skyrim very interesting and polished up what made the game fun. I will be giving personally Avowed a very poor score of a 5 out of 10. An average game that just never really did enough to push beyond the Bethesda or Skyrim comparisons to do much. Avowed did not do well at launch, and I don't expect it to continue to improve in any way, shape, or form. Even with Game Pass numbers, I don't think this game is going to perform as well as they were hoping, and I have a bad feeling that Obsidian Entertainment is going to be the next in layoffs that Microsoft have coming because, yeah, working on Grounded, which never really did all that well, then releasing Avowed, they're not looking too hot. That's my review of this game. I hope you enjoyed it. And yes, the Cyberpunk video is still coming. I know I have completely forgotten about it, but I swear to God, it's going to be out soon.